What's going on, everyone? The market cooled down a little bit today as 72% of the S&P 500 closed down in the red. In today's video, we're going to be covering the hottest stocks in the market right now, some important data that's set to release and certainly move the markets tomorrow morning, and we're also going to be diving deep into what's actually happening in the market right now. Today's video is extra special because we are actually doing a massive giveaway where we're going to be giving away $500 cash to upgrade your trading account, whether it's just funds that directly go right into your account, or even if you want to use that money to maybe buy a new monitor or whatever you want. So we're doing a giveaway that we'll talk more about as the video goes on. That includes cash, some stocked up coupons, as well as some free Bookmap access. So definitely stick with us towards the end today. But Tom, we have a lot to cover, so let's jump right into it.
Yeah, the market was back down today, which was a pretty sad sight to see, but I know a lot of traders were adapting and trading that move to the downside. But, you know, Bitcoin really kept ripping up last night, Mike, and even today, in the middle of the day, it came roaring back to life. It bounced off that 85K support, and we saw a huge move back towards that $90,000 mark. That's where it ended up evening out last night, and it actually broke above there here today towards the end of the day, but you can see it's now rejecting right back down. We gotta cover Bitcoin. It's at new all-time highs, and it's continuing this amazing move to the upside. I will say, though, looking at the Bitcoin stocks today, it was a bit mixed. Coinbase was actually, you could see a green candle on the daily chart, but they were actually down 1.58% from where they closed yesterday. And you can tell that the price action intraday was a little bit lackluster. So while these stocks have been very hot, we still have some room to go for tomorrow. I think they really need to break these key resistances here coming up, Mike. But, Bitcoin is also in a pretty crazy spot. We're getting pretty close to that $100,000 mark. We're only $10,000 away, and it looks like the Kalshi betting odds are definitely pushing us towards that mark by the end of this year.
Yeah, so as we could see that 60% of Kalshi users are betting that Bitcoin is going to hit $100,000 before January. So it's safe to say there is a whole lot of hype in the crypto side of things, as we all know. Whether you are looking at Bitcoin or some of just the crypto related stocks right now, or quite literally anything else that has been crushing it over the past week or so, it's worth noting that there has been an insane amount of bullishness over the past week. If we look at some stocks like Coinbase, for example, which has been one of the hottest crypto-related stocks, this stock is up 90% in a week. That is an insane move. And even if you say, okay, forget Coinbase, forget the cryptos, and you just look at like a market-wide stat, we can see that the past week was actually the largest weekly gain for the S&P 500 throughout the entire year. So it's only normal to have periods of calm and, just chop that follow this. Like we saw today with the S&P 500, it didn't really do that much, but understand that that's actually a healthy sign for the market, because you can't just, rip to the upside every single day.
Yeah, exactly. And if you do that, there'll normally be some pretty exponential moves then back down. So I kind of like these little healthy pullbacks that the market has every once in a while, kind of like what we're seeing right now. And whenever I think of the SPY, Mike, it's always good to go back to the heat map, right? You can see where the money was flowing out of today, right? Tech actually was pretty decent. Google, Microsoft, even Meta squeaked out green. Nvidia, Apple was break even. This was the craziest one, Mike. Apple was dead even on the day. That just kind of shows like the choppiness there. But, banks were down in the red. Tesla was down 6%. That was one of the bigger movers today that I thought put a lot of downside pressure on the market. And you can see Tesla has a pretty big impact on the overall market as well. So that was a slight negative there to see throughout the day today, was that big pullback with Tesla. But then again, you go back the past week, and it's, at least from recent lows to where it is now, it's up 50%. So like a little pullback here on one day, that's not too bad. It's to be expected.
Exactly. And you have to follow the money. Like if you're playing the broader trend at hand, a slight pullback like we saw with Tesla today or many other stocks really shouldn't be anything that truly concerns concerns you. But if you're like trading like these like super granular movements and, day trading on like a 2-minute chart, then, you better be quick to adapt and flow with the trend changes, or else you're going to get ran over. So just keep that in mind, understand like the broader actions that are happening, and don't get too freaked out by, like minuscule movements. It really depends on the time frame you were trading, and that means more than a lot of other things. So definitely keep that in mind. But some stocks that were surprisingly hot today were the weed stocks, Tom. What is going on here?
Yeah, this is pretty awesome. CGC had a really good jump intraday. We can go check out MSOS, which is moving as well. And there was actually some good news about the Trump administration and weed stocks here. Now, I will say, I need to warn you guys, this is a bit of hearsay, okay? Chris Christie says that Trump will remove federal restrictions on marijuana, and we've been talking about the descheduling of cannabis, and that's exactly what he's talking about here. He's saying that Trump should deschedule it, and obviously, when they do that, that'll open up more room for like banking situations with these MJ stocks, and just more business can be done with them, because now they won't be dealing with a federally illegal drug, right? That's kind of the thing right now that throws everybody off. Nobody wants to do business with these companies because it's technically illegal federally what they're doing. So this is a big deal, actually. But again, it is kind of hearsay. But I would think that if he said this and there was a lot of refute to it, I would have thought Trump would have said something too.
The main thing with weed stocks is that there are always crazy headlines on both sides of the debate, you can say. But what really matters is what moves the stocks. When we look at ticker symbol MSOS today, it's up over 16% on the day, which is pretty great. The more attention and positive news that is in this area of the market, the more crazy these stocks get. Some of the stocks that definitely keep on the radar are stocks like PLNH, MSOS, TLRY, CGC, and others. These stocks normally fade down and just chop all over the place, but when they do actually have real news to them, they run up in a way that is quicker than quite literally anything else in the market. And a prime example I have of that is with CGC just earlier this year. Back in March, CGC went from like $2.80 per share all the way up to highs of like $15 per share in just a couple months. So that just goes to show you a slight glimpse of how crazy these stocks get, and that's not even like the craziest movement we've seen out of this area of the market over like the past few years.
Yeah, I know, right? Like if we go back to like 2018 or something, some of these run-ups out of the MJ stocks were absolutely insane. It's like Canada was legalizing, and then of course more news came out of the United States and etc. These MJ stocks are quite wild. And Mike, you say this all the time. I'm putting it on a shirt. I swear we're gonna do it next year. If you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen with these stocks. But I think that they're actually at a low point where we could start maybe buying them up off support. Tilray just started to make new recent lows. It broke through support. So if we do see like a pop back, like let's say through that $1.50 resistance now, back up into that $1.60 to $2 area, we could maybe start to see more of a buying opportunity, right? Because these stocks have been down a lot in the short term, so they need a good comeback here.
Yeah, the way like I look at them right now is that, they're still in like a very early stage of a potential uptrend. But if we see more talk about this topic and we see more volume and, bullish price action with these stocks, there'll be something to keep on the radar very closely. But for now, just keep them on the watch list, because they certainly move in some pretty crazy ways. But Tom, as we all know, we are still in earnings season, and we still have a pretty exciting lineup on the schedule. So what's tomorrow and the rest of the week looking like?
Yeah, it's wild. Tomorrow in pre-market, we actually have HUT reporting, which could be pretty interesting here. I even see one at the bottom, Mike, BTM, Bitcoin Depot. No, I've actually never even heard of that one, but I figured I would say it because it's Bitcoin. A little bit of a funny one there for us. But CSCO and after hours will be pretty awesome. That's a pretty it's a pretty momentum-filled stock that can have some pretty good moves. So that'll be a nice one. And then Thursday, we have Disney, Applied Materials, ASTS, OKLO, which has been very popular recently as well, and even some of these China stocks like JD and Baba on Friday. So there we go. That's pretty much the rundown for the rest of the week, Mike. And I know the economic schedule is quite filled up as well.
Big time. So tomorrow, 1 hour before open, we have some very important inflation data set to release. The year-over-year rate is set to come in right around like 2.6%. The previous reading was 2.4%, so we are expected to see a little bit of an uptick. And as we look at the chart of inflation over the past couple of years, while it has come down a lot from its high of 9.1% back in June of 2022, there's still a lot of work that has to be done to truly like win this war against inflation, and that is certainly a risk that Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve is seeing throughout the rest of this year. The main thing we want to see is inflation to stay calm and consistent. If we see any unexpected major increases is when some big red flags will come in, and that can like really throw a wrench into the whole system and cause a lot of problems. But until we see that, there's no real reason to freak out. But whenever we get new data releases for inflation, it's very important because it's just like one of the most important economic data points in this market.
It definitely is. And the fact that they're looking for that 0.2% increase up to 2.6% from that previous rating does worry me a little bit. You know, if inflation starts getting closer to 3%, I think that could start to worry Jerome Powell here. And I was looking at the FedWatch tool, Mike, and there's about a 62% chance of a rate cut at the next meeting, but I saw a pretty good chance of a pause as well. So we'll definitely look at the update on that one tomorrow, but it's going to be a big year for the SPY. There's a lot of big levels coming up here, Mike, and for tomorrow, I'm definitely looking at some of the more important levels from this past week. Right, I think that this 596.50 to 597 support range is going to be crucial. I moved this support range up a little bit because we've been seeing so many bounces here the past couple days, and we also talked about 594 and 595 a lot last week. And guess where the SPY bounced today? Right between there. So I'm watching that area again as key support for tomorrow. As resistance, $599 and $600 have to be on the radar here. The SPY needs to post a good day tomorrow to really get this rally going again. If we end up rejecting back down, a lot of traders, I think, are going to start to sell this one off.
Yeah, and that is something worth keeping in mind because we are seeing a little bit of lower high action over the past couple of days, and if we can't break through that trend that you listed, it definitely would be a bit of a worrying sign. You know, I think it's definitely worth noting that the market is up so much over the past week where it's only normal to have periods of just like calm and chop, but I guess the main thing is, really just getting a good feel about the momentum and how it's shifting. For example, if the market opens up tomorrow and everything is selling off in a major way and we are breaking the low of the week, that will be a pretty bad sign, and it'll show you that there's a lot of urgent and strong profit taking across the market, and that is certainly a bearish sign. On the other hand, if the market is just like slowly fading lower or just chopping around, then that shows that the price action is more so based off of like slower profit taking and like not as urgent or scary, you can say. And then that just gives like a different read where it's like, it's not as bearish as the alternative. The main thing, as always, is especially in a bullish sense, the more pressure the market puts on its high of day and the more consistently and like it's spending time at that high of day, the more bullish the market becomes because of multiple structural and psychological reasons. Either way, SPY is definitely close on watch right now, and it would be great to see it, continue staying as close to this high of day as possible. But of course, if it doesn't, then, we just have to adapt and follow the money.
Yeah, and this is a key level as well. It's a big psychological spot at $600. Don't be surprised to see a bit more consolidation. We might retest 600 before consolidating a little bit more. That's one thing that I am a little worried about is a possible double top around that $600 point. So just keep that in mind as well. And I'm sure that some of these events coming up, like the inflation move tomorrow, might start to really pick a good direction for us. So just keep that in mind 1 hour before the market opens. that could actually give us that good break out of this trend that we need, or cause a lot of selling pressure.
Yeah, it's going to shake the market around either way, which is good to see. But before we get into today's setups and predictions, I want to talk more about the Instagram giveaway that we are doing. So basically, if you go to my account, mdantonio3, you will see some options where you could win some pretty nice prizes without having to do too much work. Basically, all you have to do is follow my account and the Stocked Up University account and just comment your favorite ticker symbol on the post, and that'll automatically enter you into a giveaway to win $500 cash to put towards your either trading account, your setup, or whatever you want. Second place will win a $300 Stocked Up coupon, and then third place will win some free Bookmap access. So definitely join that up, and it's our 100K subscriber giveaway special. So it's going to be great to interact and chat with more of you guys individually on Instagram, because we're also going to be posting some exclusive Stocked Up content on the new Stocked Up Instagram account. We're constantly adding more and more to the community, and it's something we're very excited to release. So we'll see you all on Instagram. But diving deeper into today's setups and predictions, a stock I'm watching very closely right now is still ACHR. This is a stock that we've been talking about quite a bit over the past couple of days, and the stock has just been ripping, which is great. There have been two recent big money plays on this one. Some strong volume and momentum is flowing in, and the setup looks great. Again, this is a setup that we've been bullish on for some time, and while I am certainly still bullish, I will say that if you did not already get into this play, keep this setup on the radar for some potential dip buy opportunities. This stock moves a lot in both directions, and I think it's pretty interesting how we saw two recent big money plays on this one.
Yeah, that was fire, Mike, and it's almost up to that $5 big psychological level and possible resistance there. I'll be watching that very closely for tomorrow, and then even that recent high all the way up around like that $5.50 mark. It'd be awesome to have a nice double top up around there, so I'll definitely keep watching it, Mike. With my first setup, I'm looking at Tesla, but in today's video, it's not necessarily to the upside, and don't be upset by that though, because Tesla is still in a great setup overall, but right now it just started to pull back a bit. So looking at the Bookmap here, there's a big support down around $320. If we start to see a good move tomorrow towards that 320 mark, I'll look to play the move down to that, and then even the possible break down below 320. You can definitely tell that was the biggest area of the day today where there were a lot of buyers stacked up, at least towards the end of the day. There was about 128,000 shares right there. There are some big levels overhead though, like 340 and then even 350 overhead, which is even bigger. I don't want to show it though because it'll make the chart all scrunched up, but I have to show it here, so might as well do it. But 350 has 281,000 shares there and had a ton of volume today as well. So those are some levels to keep in mind with Tesla for tomorrow. Going more to the intraday chart though, really quickly, I'm looking at the 1 minute chart and I'm like, okay, we got pretty close to that 320 support. Ideally, I want to see a good break down below there, because if we see it on like a 15-minute time frame, you can see how that was a bit of a support range here from the past.
Sounds good. And Tesla is a stock that is on many people's watch list because it's a crazy mover in both directions, which is, part of the reason it's one of the best stocks to trade out there, because it just has strong, powerful movement. So good stuff there, and I will keep this on watch as well. But another stock that I'm watching very closely is Palantir, and it's actually to the downside. I love this company for the long term, and I'm very happy with how much they've grown over the past year. But realistically, the stock is not only overbought, but it's in the process of shifting momentum, in my opinion. We could see that it topped out right around $62 a share, and ever since hitting that point, just the supply and demand dynamic has certainly shifted from an extremely euphoric bullish sense to something that's a bit more choppy and just not as consistent and somewhat weak. Because of this, Palantir is definitely on my bearish radar for the rest of the week. where the more lows, the more pressure it puts on its lows and the more time it spends at its lows, the stronger the bearish opportunity will become. I would really want this stock to stay below the $61.50 area to kind of like continue the trend of making lower highs. But even if we look at like more specifically at the price action from today, there was a decent amount of action right around the $60 level, which has been a key resistance area. So it would be beautiful if we see a rejection here and then possibly a retest around like $58.50. But either way, Palantir's on my bearish radar for the short term.
Yeah, I definitely like that $60 resistance, Mike. I'll be watching it very closely as well. With my next setup, I'm looking at NIO to the downside. It was down 10% today. It's back under $5 a share with that drop here today as well. So I'm going to keep watching it down. If we see a break below that low of day today and we see good pressure on that low of day, just like what we saw today, I'll keep watching it for more downside opportunities in the short term. If we go to the daily chart with NIO, I hate to say it, it's almost given up the whole entire run from that China run up. Almost the whole thing is given back here. So I'm really watching for it to kind of get back down into this lower support range, closer to $4 or even $3.50. I don't think that it'll get there tomorrow, but that is something that I'm looking for the next few days. So I'm going to have that downside bias and keep looking for that good pressure. But not all stocks are created equal. Right now, the China stocks are selling off a little bit.
Big time. All right, well, let's get right into today's momentum plays then. And with the first one, we have Penn to the upside.
Yeah, Penn Gaming keeps it going today, which was awesome. New weekly high, which was great. If they end up breaking out above the high of day at 2160, keep watching them up.
All right, with the next one, we have SMCI to the downside.
Yeah, surprise, surprise, right? SMCI was red again today, another 6%. If they end up breaking the low actually from yesterday, right around 2140, then keep watching them down.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Qualcomm also to the downside.
Yeah, chip stocks were brutal, and Qualcomm was one of the worst ones here today. If it breaks under 162, watch for it down, possibly towards that 160 next support.
All right, so we have Qualcomm and SMCI on watch for potential bearish plays tomorrow, if and only if they break through the levels listed. And then we have Penn, PENN, on watch for a potential upside if it breaks through the level listed as well. Either way, these three stocks on watch are momentum-style setups where the stronger and more consistent they move, the better the setups become. If they don't break the levels listed, then don't force the setups. And again, like we said, the more momentum that they have, the stronger and better the setups become. But besides that, we are all clear for today's $1.12 million big money trade. And we are looking at ticker symbol OKTA. So today the big money bought the 80 strike call options that expire on June 20th of 2025. Looking at this ticker, it has been making higher lows over the past few years, which is good to see. And it's one of those stocks that certainly doesn't have as much hype and true momentum as some other stocks do, which has its pros and cons. Looking at OKTA, these call options are slightly out of the money, and the options have a decent amount of time to them. So it looks like the big money here is certainly expecting a good size move by expiration. The setup's definitely interesting, and I like how, I like the position that it's currently at, where it's not too crazy overextended, and it still is holding its higher low pattern, which is a good sign to see. So if you're willing to give this one the time it needs, then the setup is there. But I would really like to see a break above like that $80 resistance at some point over like the next couple weeks.
Yeah, me too. That's going to be a big level to keep on the radar here with OKTA. This one does have a lot of time, though, out to June of next year. That's a long time. So just keep that in mind. Even if this ends up like chopping around for another month to 2 months and then breaks out, that would still be a great move here for the 80 strike calls as it starts to get up towards like the high 80s, maybe even 90s. I know a few people were talking about the gap maybe filling on OKTA. This stock has been known to fill some gaps in the past. I mean, we can circle some of these gaps here and most of them have gotten filled anyways. Now, do gap fills always have to happen? Definitely not. So just keep that in mind, guys. I mean, that's a pretty high target up there, around 95 as well. But hey, if it does fill the gap and start to get some good momentum here in this open range, that would be amazing. But of course, I want to see that $80 resistance break as well.
Yep, so either way, definitely keep this one on the radar going forward. But we also want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Omar, in the Stocked Up Discord, who has just been crushing it lately. Huge shout out to you, Omar. You've been a great member of the community for months now, and like we said, you have been crushing it lately. So keep up the great work going forward, and hopefully these gains keep on rolling in. Huge shout out to you, and thank you for being a great member of the community. Guys, don't forget, we do have that giveaway live on Instagram. Definitely check out my account, mdantonio3, to get entered into the giveaway. We're going to be doing a lot of cool things on Instagram, and we're also going to have some Instagram exclusive content. So definitely make sure to give us a follow there, and we're set for a pretty exciting rest of the year. The market's at an exciting point. Bitcoin is roaring, and we're seeing a lot of great action and momentum in both directions, which is ultimately all you can ask for as a trader. So it should be a great rest of the year. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to check out the Instagram post, and besides that, let's crush it in the market tomorrow.